Firstly, thank you very much, Jadan, for giving me opportunity to present you on my podcast.
Sure. Yeah, my pleasure.
So I've gone through your profile. I can see you're doing great work. So I thought to tell about your work to my audience.
Sure, just launch in. Yeah.
So
Uh, Sure. So I'm Jordan Maltby. I'm the CEO of both Shadow Magic Studios and Dilithium Labs. Shadow Magic Studios is a full script screen independent film production company. We are sort of vertically integrated. We actually were born out of post production. So we started by sort of innovating on the digital lab services side, bringing remote dailies that uses remote rigs, remote operators, and cloud technology instead of the traditional brick and mortar. And that since expanded to a full post management division, which is kind of like a post supervisor as a service. And then from there, we continue to expand, and now we have a full script to screen production company. We're developing our own original films as well as providing production services, digital lab services, post management. So all of these sort of come together as a kind of a holistic approach to independent filmmaking. We are now getting more into being a lot more tech forward. So we're developing our own technology products, some of which we've shown to a select amount of people, and some of which we will announce in due time. And then on the Dilithium Lab side, we have a product called Beam Transfer. Beam Transfer is a high-speed, large media file transfer service that can send and receive and request files anywhere in the world at up to 10 gigabit per second speed, so 1.17, 1.18 gigabytes per second. It's also got a lot of nifty features, like you can have multiple share links per package. Packages are dynamic, and you can edit them, and you can drag and drop. It's also completely S3 native for the more advanced users, so you can bring your own AWS or Storage bucket, and you can basically interact with it as if it was Finder. So it's like sort of the world's greatest S3 file browser. Um, and then in addition to that, you can actually run Beam as a local gateway on your on-prem solution or on your home computer, so exposing local hard drives or mounted volumes as a shareable cloud for the outside world. So how's that?
yeah, it looks cool. Which one you want to share more about the file transfer one or the production company?
uh, I suppose whatever you're most interested in. I'm happy to talk about anything.
So, what is your primary interest?
Um, my primary interest in general, I suppose, is Shadow Magic's mission statement is empowering unheard voices to impact culture. And I think that's where my heart truly lies. Everything that we're doing is in some manner, in some way, trying to inspire and empower independent filmmakers to be able to make great movies. And it's hard enough to make an independent film, so hopefully we can make it a little bit easier, and we can give resources that you never would think that you would be able to have.
So, what kind of movies that you want to produce?
In general, we are sort of genre agnostic. We don't look for a specific type of film. What we generally look for is things that are purposeful, provocative, things that have the potential to impact culture in a positive way. And that's not to say that we're like an activist or politically motivated or anything. In fact, quite the opposite. We want unheard voices or original artists to um, be able to share a little bit of who they are with the world, and hear those stories. They can come from anywhere. They can be in any genre. And Yeah, I think we try to be as sort of filmmaker focused and filmmaker centric as we can. Um, but we definitely skew towards originality and some new offering rather than like a sequel reboot, or something like that.
So what is your previous work?
Um, I was a career editor, film editor. I started on Final Cut Pro 1.0, and before that, I did school projects in Macromedia Director 8. Although I'm pretty much dating myself at this point, um, but I've had media in my blood my whole life. My whole family's in musical theater. My father's a director and a lyricist. My mother's a theater producer. My sister's a choreographer and director. My other sister's an actress and a singer. I'm the black sheep that went into the film industry. So I like to say that the apple fell far enough for me to be rebellious, but I stayed in the orchard. Um, so I mean, this aspect is storytelling and the impact that it can have has been in my blood forever. So whether it's a technology product or solution, whether it's a financial infrastructure or workflow, or even just like complicated things like managing tax credits and things like that. If we find a project that we can sort of see ourselves in the filmmaker a little bit, we really grab on and roll up our sleeves and get dirty with you. That's probably not the best phrasing, but there you go.
So the filmmaking has been changed in a lot in last few years. So how do you define that, especially because you want to produce independent movies?
Hmm. You mean the process of filmmaking has changed?
The making.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely true. Basically everything that you used to do doesn't a lot of it doesn't exist anymore. I mean, we live in a globalized world with global workforces and talent everywhere. It's not uncommon even for a $1 or $2 million feature to have a production in one state, an editor in another state, assistant editor in another state, visual effects in another country, and sounds who knows where. Even at a relatively low budget for an independent film. That's definitely new. I think that to some extent we used to think of certain places as being the big film hubs, like Los Angeles, for example. And to some extent they still are, but to a very large extent, that has I don't want to say democratized, but that has become less centralized over the years. In order to get a film made, in any kind of reasonable way, you are going to have to secure some sort of tax credit. And so, as a savvy producer, you're looking for how can you maximize the money that goes on screen, and there are lots of states across the U.S. that offer very attractive tax credits for production, and that means that productions are becoming more remote. Even going internationally, there are a number of new sort of media hubs that didn't really exist. Well, I don't say didn't exist, but weren't thought of as media hubs the same way, like Budapest, Ireland, Romania, and a handful of other countries that have really great incentives, and they've been building up really professional crews over the last 10 years. I mean, they shot Game of Thrones in Ireland. It doesn't really get much bigger than that. So yeah, I think that there are key changes in the way films are financed in the first place, which necessitates different strategies. And then with those different strategies come workflow requirements um, that can allow even, smaller or non-studio projects to have global teams working together and do that kind of efficiently. So that, it's a lot of new challenges, but that's why we're here.
So you are into technology, and what motivated you to build a technical product?
um, I don't know, silliness, stupidity. No, no. I've always been at the intersection of art and technology. My whole life. I think that's probably why I was interested in film in the first place. Um, uh, my whole family's in theater, and theater is you could do it on Broadway, you could do it in a black box. A film requires a lot of technology to be invented so that you can do it in the first place. Camera formats, editing systems, lighting rigs, electrical. Like there's all sorts of technical craft. That goes into it. And I suppose as an editor, I was always focused more in the post production space. And I suppose if I'm honest, the simple answer to your question is I wanted to make my own life easier. Yeah, I mean it's as simple as that. On the editing side, I got known as kind of like a workflow specialist or a workflow architect. It depends on who you talk to. I worked for the last 3 years with cloud infrastructure companies and sort of teaching them media and entertainment and how to speak the language and sort of bridge that gap. Um, I suppose I was always kind of interested in the tech side as a function of empowerment. A lot of times, the only difference between you spending $1,000 on something your film needs, or you spending $10,000 on something your film needs, is knowledge. And so if you have that knowledge, if you've set your film up for success, um, in production, in pre-production, while you're already planning for legal delivery, you're already planning for what's going to happen 3 steps down the road. You find that when you're on the 2 yard line, you have a lot more flexibility. Maybe you have more visual effect shots you didn't think you can afford. Maybe more money can go into finishing steps like sound and color, and all of this has huge substantive impact on the quality of the film and what you're capable of. So I think I the nurturing aspect of myself is mixing with the nerd aspect of myself, and I think that if we make the technical processes simpler, then more creative time can be spent. So
So how do you feel when it comes to technology that, making an art better?
um can you say the question again? I'm not sure I follow.
Uh, how technology is helping to make the art better?
How technology is helping to make the art better. Yeah. Well, I suppose there's a few aspects of it. Um, let's go with the practical one first. Um, every film project, film, television, media product is fighting desperately against two things: time and money, right? You only have so much time to work, and you only have so much money to spend. And if you lose one, the other gets affected, right? If you lose $100,000, you now have less time and less resources to complete your film. What the technology side can help do is maximize what you have. If you have 16 weeks to do your edit, and because of inefficiency, you gain a week, that's a whole week of creative time, that can make the film better. If you optimize cost so that you're not spending money on ancillary technical tasks and putting more money literally like on the screen, like more time for artists to work, then like I was mentioning before, you might be able to get more visual effect shots. You might be able to spend more time in the sound mix, more time in the color. You might be able to take more time for a composer to work. So the key things that tend to break down a show are the transitions between phases. So the transition from pre-production into production, from production into post-production, from post-production into delivery. Though the technical transition periods tend to be where a lot of the bottleneck happens, or where a lot of the errors happen. And if you don't catch those errors, they accumulate, and then suddenly you think you have all this resources to go finish your film, and your lab says, oh, the conform is a nightmare. It's going to cost an extra $15,000. Well, that's $15,000 that you can't spend on things that are creatively matter, and that's gone forever.
So coming to the technical product that we have created, so transferring the data in large amount of data in very few seconds. Is there any motivation for you? You have worked already in technology, or AWS or cloud services. I mean, what is the purpose that you have done this?
Yeah. Well, the cloud offers an easy way of globalizing everything that you're doing, right? It functions as an archive. It functions as a transfer conduit. It functions as a place where your media can be housed, so that asset managers and AI tools and all sorts of other things can attach to it. It's kind of like that principle from Movie Lab's Vision 2030, the single source of truth where apps come to your media. The cloud is a really perfect place to house that, and furthermore, new advances in AI tools and other things that the industry will invent, the likeliness that it's cloud compatible or something that you can just hook into is very high. And I suppose the fundamental problem that you have to start with is, well, how did everything get to the cloud in the first place? Right? And that's why we built Beam fundamentally, was we need a lightning fast, reliable mechanism of uploading and sharing massive amounts of data. Typical films can shoot anywhere from 50 to 100 terabytes. That stuff needs to be able to upload in a secure way, in a fast way, in a resilient way. It needs to be resilient against things like network outages, and stuff like that. And then come time for visual effects, sound, and color, a lot of those elements, assets need to get to all sorts of other places around the world. If you're doing your color in France, you need to be able to move massive amounts of data to that facility. And so I suppose as a start to being a cloud first or technology first production and post production company, the first problem we needed to solve is the transfer of media. And S3, if you've ever spent time in the AWS console, you'd know that you'd need a physics degree to understand what any of this stuff is, right? It's very complicated. object storage and sort of cloud storage is not a file system. It's not. In fact, there aren't even folders. They are. It's pretty rudimentary. They're just dumb file paths, making it relatively easy for a programmer to use that data, but not a layperson, not an average or not person, not a filmmaker. Beam transfer solves that gap entirely, and basically allows you to have the experience of working in Finder, but with S3 compatible object storage, which can save a lot of time, cost, and allow you to globally collaborate.
So, apart from this, are you into acting? Or have you?
I'm not. No, I don't. I don't think it would serve anyone to put me in front of a camera.
So, when it comes to the story selection, so what kind of stories that you are interested in personally that you want to produce with your production company?
um. Well, we don't curate content as much in the same way that other companies might. That is to say that, like, we're not always looking necessarily for the perfect story. We're looking for the filmmaker, and the passion that they have, and if it's not like we are developing stories in house, and our core competency is being like story development. We are all about empowerment. So we want you or a filmmaker to come to us and say, this is this is the thing I mortgaged my house to do. I need to tell this story, and here's why. I personally, I always kind of look for the why. What's the, in French, the raison d'être, the reason for being. Why are you telling me this story? Why is it important to you? Why is it important that I understand it? And to some extent that means, why is it relevant? Well, I want to make a Western. Okay, why? Well, because it would be fun to make a Western. Well, that's not very interesting. It's not very interesting to anyone. But a I mean, Adam Sandler movies are about something. Like they're about the importance of family, or they're about the that money isn't everything, or whatever. Like, there's got to be a why. There's got to be a something, and we see that cross genres. We see that in whether you're doing a comedy or a comedy satire, or whether you're doing a straight drama, or historical, or science fiction. I want to know. I want to know why you want to tell me this story, and why you think it's important. And if that why is very strong, you'll have my attention.
Great. So, what are stories that you have heard in recent past?
Pardon?
What all the stories that you have heard in recent past?
That we have released?
I mean, the stories that came to your notice.
Oh, well, in terms of Shadow Magic originals, we're just now releasing our we just have we just sent out a press release. We just announced our first original, and we have a couple others that are in the pipe, but I don't want to talk too much about them. As a production services company, we are sort of a work for hire, and like I said, it all feeds into the idea of empowerment. Whether you come to us for a service, or whether you have a story you think that would be a good fit. I'm not sure I answered your question. How did I do?
I mean, in the recent past, what all the stories? I think you have given the answer.
Cool.
So, when it comes to the technical part, in the art that you want to do. So can you elaborate like then how the technical integration?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So fundamentally, Shadow Magic started as a new take on a digital lab services company that used remote rigs, remote operators, and cloud technology. So the start of the workflow, one of the things that we noticed is that if you mess things up in the dailies process, everything downstream of it becomes more complicated. So that's sort of where we started. We take this box that we have. It's basically a Mac computer and a battery and a couple of other stuff, and we ship it to the production office. Um, a DIT or media wrangler will hand off a shuttle drive to a PA who will go to the production office, plug it into the box, and then leave it completely unattended. And we remotely manage all the lab services right there on site. So we sort of bring the lab to you, so to speak. All we require is a modest internet connection, and that starts the process of everything from archival to offloading to multiple shuttle drive to multiple raids rather, to syncing, naming, color grading, QC, all that stuff, so that the editor gets, for example, an Avid bin with everything already synced, already named, already prepped for edit, saving them a lot of time. We then start the process of um, archiving stuff to the cloud, which creates a permanent location for those media assets to live and be distributed anywhere in the world. We use beam transfer to move that data. Um, and then we are also building some homegrown Shadow Magic tools, some sort of asset management, workflow orchestration, project and media intelligence softwares that we're now testing in production, that sort of glues everything else together. So you'll have things like editing from cloud workstations. One of the main problems, I could say a little bit about that. One of the main problems with remote workflows is there's sort of two schools of thought. One is, does you bring the media to the person, and the other one is you bring the person to the media, right? Um, there are solutions where you can bring the media to the person, and they're they have complications. Streaming anything from the cloud, no matter how good it is subject to the laws of physics, right? The farther you are away from the source, the more latency you're going to incur. Um, the larger the files and the more data that has to push through cable, now necessitates higher internet connections, direct connected internet connections, all sorts of things that, and believe me, I've seen it all. There's editors with huge award-winning editors, and they're working off a 2017 MacBook Pro, and over a Wi-Fi connection, and the second you start getting into that stuff, and you potentially have multiple points of failure that are just technical. So we think the solution to that is to bring the person to the media. So we host and partner with companies that host workstations in the cloud, so that you can remote into them from any connection. You could be at a coffee shop, you could be on a Mac or a PC. It doesn't matter, because the computer that you're remoting into has a 10 gig line and is hyper optimized. So like that's one way that you can think about tech solving the problem. And I would say that there is different horses for different courses. Every film is different. Every project has unique challenges. There is no single solution that's going to work for every film. So we want to be nimble, we want to be flexible, and we want to be able to adapt to the challenges and constraints with any project. From there, you get into things like deliverables and things like that. We have automated processes for creating things like DCPs. Soon will be, IMFs and other sort of lab services, VFX pulls and things like that. If I can take what would typically cost $10,000 and 2 weeks, and I can turn it into $3,000 in a day, right? It's a net win for everyone. And not only did you save money on the process, you just saved a week of time, and that week is precious. So as a digital lab services company, we're starting to create new advanced automations to allow filmmakers to take advantage of this. Um, and and then the last piece of the puzzle will be what happens when your film is over, right? You finish your film, you screened it at the festival, it's done its run, or whatever. Now who holds on to all of that media so that in few days, a few months, a few years, in 5 years time, United Airlines calls and says, "Hey, can I get a copy of this?" Who do they call, and where do they get it from, right? So you need the long tail, sort of, not content aggregation, but sort of content management. The tail end and the in perpetuity tail end of the project needs to be managed as well. So we're trying to bridge all of these processes together into like essentially a single solution for the filmmaker.
So what scale of the film that you want to produce?
We typically do budget ranges between, I'd say, like 1 and 20 million. So it's a pretty wide scope. I'd say the middle part of the bell curve is somewhere between 4 to 6. However, we'll do shows as low as 4 or 500,000 sometimes, and as high as 25 if it's particularly good. Once you get past that, it's not that we can't do it, and I think we'd still be a very good partner. It's just that you legitimately have more options. The problems that we're solving are not your problems anymore. I still think that we'd be a great partner for your show, but for shows in our target range, we provide enormous value, and so that tends to be where our niche is.
So, from which geographical area that you're looking for the filmmakers?
Anywhere, really. I mean, we are U.S. based, so that's where we're going to get the most of our traffic, or our traction rather. Um, but I spent almost a year in Kuwait and all over the Middle East, making a film called How I Got There, that I'm enormously proud of. I was the editor on it, and it was very near and dear and personal to the director's heart, and I'll say this about that. Uh, the director's Kuwaiti, and obviously, and wanted to make a film that, more honestly and more, I'd say, sort of, I don't know, optimistically or whatever, showed their culture in a world where American movies had seen the Middle East in general as like a Black Hawk Down, and sepia tones and call to prayers and spooky war on terror, type stuff. And he wanted to show the world what his sort of country and culture was all about, from a different point of view, by also making an international, entertaining, almost Scorsese-ish kind of movie, and it's wonderful. So I was wondering, why he came to me, or why we got along when we met, because I'm like, I don't know if my New York white Jewishness is the best candidate for honestly telling Kuwaiti culture to the world, bringing Kuwaiti culture to the world. But he had this wonderful response. He said, "Film's a universal language." I mean, if that doesn't warm your heart, I don't know what is. So, once he said that, I was like, okay, fine, buy me a ticket. Let's do it. Um, and it truly is. The the film was a labor of love for sure. We smashed into every wall, on the way to the finish line. And I remember that we got, after like almost a few years of struggling through post production and trying to, sometimes we had to get new monies in, and things like that. I started to get pretty jaded, just tired, I suppose. And when we went to go premiere it in Kuwait, um a young kid came up to me, maybe 13, 14 years old, came up to me and said, I heard you were the editor of the show. And I said, yeah. And he said, it's amazing. I never would have considered that a film like this could be made in my country. And now I want to go to film school and become a filmmaker. And I'm like, I'm tearing up even thinking about it. But the second you hear stuff like that, all of your jadedness goes right out the window, right? And it just sort of reminds you of like why we do this. Um, you know, if the net of this movie was that it inspired one person to do something, I'd be pretty happy with the result.
So when you mention the word called original, can you elaborate it?
The which?
When you mention the word called original, like
Original.
original film,
Yes.
so can you elaborate it?
Absolutely. So Shadow Magic is starting to uh develop and create our own original films, meaning they are our product. Not we're not providing services to some other film. We cultivated it, developed it, raised for it, and produced it. And the first film we just announced is called Road to Reality. And we're really excited about it. I can't tell you. My partners would hate me if I started spilling spoilers. So I won't say too much, but I would say we're very, very excited about it, and we think it has um, a very cool social commentary wrapped in a very entertaining movie.
So you're already great in in film production and everything. So is the file transfer one, the product, that the technical product that you have created, is this is part of the film production company that that you have, or it is a
It's
separate idea?
It's actually separate. Yeah. It's a separate company. Obviously, Shadow Magic is the first customer, you know. But yeah, it's a separate company, separate initiative, separate client base. A lot of it is, will strengthen the technical processes with Shadow Magic and production companies like us, but it's also a product that will work great for enterprise facilities, studios, and basically any environment where you need to send massive amounts of data. Part of the cool thing about it is there are other solutions where I upload something, I send you a link, the link dies, and that's it. Um, the problem is, well, what if I want to send a new thing every day? Well, now I got to send a new link every day, right? In this, you kind of have more of a shared space, so I can continuously upload new day of dailies, new folders into Beam, and I can send it to you and 50 other people, and it gets archived while it gets distributed to everyone else. And we try to make that as simple and elegant and efficient as possible. We also have one of the things that we're proud of is the amount of visibility that everyone has. We like to say that the best call is the one you don't get, right? And how many times has someone called you and said like, "Hey, is it uploaded yet? Is it ready? When's the link going to be ready? When's the?" So instead, we just have like radical transparency throughout the app. The recipient can see the upload status as it's going. You see if I try to rename a folder and you're uploading into it, it throws up a conflict check and says exactly what they're doing and do you want to let it succeed or do you want it to cancel. So it's like there's radical transparency and sort of built on that collaboration model, which is something that, like we were talking about before, that cloud storage traditionally does not do. So we try
Yeah.
to make complex things easy. There you go.
Got it. So at last, what do you say about your businesses with my audience for hearing this from anywhere on this planet?
Um, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
At last, what do you say about your businesses to
Mhm.
my audience who are listening this or watching this from anywhere on this planet?
What do I say? I say we are really sincerely proud of our mission and what we're trying to do. We desperately, think that independent films have the power to impact culture and change people's minds. We as a people, as a human people, we understand concepts through stories. Every religious text is a narrative, right? We think of our lives as a narrative. We're the protagonist in our story. The patriotism is wrapped in the narrative of the country that we tell ourselves. Everything is a story, and so it may sound trivial that at the end of the day, while people are curing cancer and dying in wars, we're making a movie, you know. Um, but I think it's critically important. I think it is the way that we learn from each other. It's the way that we learn about other cultures, parts of the world. It's the way that we understand that we're not alone anymore. It's the way that we bridge gaps and learn to understand our own humanity through the dramatizations of what if, and even science fiction, I often say, is like humanity's previs. It's like we have an idea, we don't know whether it's going to work, and we previs it. We play it out in drama. And if the drama doesn't work, then probably the idea doesn't work, because you have to be honest about what the character's intentions and things would actually be able to do. So whether it is from the technology side, empowering and attempting to make films and the process and workflows easier and more accessible, to the productions company side that physically produces the films and works and slaves as much as we can to try to achieve the director's or the creative's vision, to the originals that we cultivate and try to put out into the world as our own offering on the same mission. um what everything that we do is just trying to, you know add a little sparkle to the world. That'll just offer up something new and interesting for other people, hopefully to get as inspired by as we have been inspired by movies in our past.
So can you spell your online presence to my listeners so that they can connect you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find everything Shadow Magic at shadowmagic.com, and you can find anything Beam Transfer at beamtransfer.io. You can join the beta right now. We just launched it at NAB this year, just a few weeks ago, and feel free to download it and kick the tires, and we'd love to get your feedback.
Awesome. So at last, as an entrepreneur, as a filmmaking production company, owner, and also a person who is into creating a technology product, what's your observation about my work? Have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube?
Um, To be honest, you cold called me. I didn't know I didn't know too much about it. Forgive me. I you seemed very I, I don't know, out what's the word? You were you reached out and I admired your pluck. So I agreed to join, but forgive me, I don't know too much about your background.
So I have done masters in software engineering, also bachelors in computer science and engineering. Right now, I'm
Oh,
working as a DevOps engineer for a London company from India. So that's my
wow.
full time role. Apart from that, I'm interviewing experts from uh, all the places, all the countries, more than 100 countries experts I have interviewed for my podcast,
Wow.
and more than 860 interviews I have done. And yesterday I have interviewed a person who has a 15 million uh, podcast listenership, and he's one of the top 5 podcasters in America.
That's
And
amazing.
this
Oh,
is
good
this
for
is
you.
where this is one of
Wow.
the so apart
See
from this,
the lesson
yeah.
learned. 80% is showing up. Just reach out. You never know. You know, right?
So, and I have interviewed the vice president of Amazon Web Services that you're talking about S3,
Oh wow.
the Amazon, yeah, the cloud vice president, and also Salesforce vice president. I have interviewed hundreds of companies, chief executive officers from US, UK, Canada, Germany, from all the countries. So that's something that I'm interested in. Apart from this, I have interviewed marine biologists, neuroscientists, NASA scientists, and also the psychologists, authors, police officers, and
Wow.
try to
So
interview
so
journalists.
what's your driving force? Why are you doing this? What is the thing that inspires you in all this?
I think there is something which is common between you and me is like uh, the human word that you have used. I'm interested in different kinds of mindsets for coming from different parts of the world, and for example, one day, an asteroid comes and hits our planet, and there is nothing left. So, in some data center, in some storage device, the collection of the videos that I have done, and if this conversation is heard by someone who came from other galaxy or other part of the universe, this will be
Yeah.
a historical record for the humanity.
You're describing the plot of Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's so cool. Yeah, I mean, I can hear it in your voice. You have a lot of passion, and I, you know, this is what's so fun about the world we live in right now. I mean, you reached out to me on LinkedIn. Now we're having this chat, and soon we're gonna be fast friends. And just because of hey, I wonder if I can say hi, and there you go. And how cool is it that we get to do this? And just take a minute and learn about each other. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and it came from your acceptance. And the something that really made me happy is like you didn't see my work. People who
Mm.
saw my work and coming and giving an acceptance is different.
Mm.
Because they already know what all I have done, and
Yeah.
I mean, this interview, this podcast interview, that won't be natural. That the people who comes with knowing me, this came very natural because I can able to present it what you are exactly without giving any questions or me preparing something, or I wanted my podcast interviews to be extremely natural, and
Mm.
if I want to make it as a human historical record, it should not be an acting, it should be as it is. So
Yeah.
and that this is one of the greatest interviews that I can say. One of the natural interviews that I believe that it is going to reach a lot, like
Oh wow.
many people. Yeah, I believe this. And I want your observation. Me having diversified conversations from different kinds of professionals from technology, to non-technical. So how this diversified experiences listening to their stories for 45 minutes, 1 hour, and doing this every day and having this part of like how this is going to contribute to me and to my personal life as also as a human being.
Hmm. Yeah.
How it's going to helpful for me as per your
Oh,
observation.
how doing this podcast is helpful for you.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, look, I mean, there's a mix of knowledge is power. There's a mix of, um, why not get to know and meet as many people as you can. There's you seem like you're very curious, and you're very passionate about, like, isn't humanity cool, and look at all this cool stuff that everyone is doing, and you're like look, you're just like, you lit up like a light bulb when I said that, um all of that, stuff. Stay curious. I mean, what was the thing that Steve Jobs said? Stay hungry, stay foolish. Stay curious about everything. Keep having that childlike, you know, um, wonder of, when someone does, when cool stuff happens, because it's like we live in an extraordinary world, and there's extraordinary people, and I think that it will. I think this will, enrich you as a person, um, and I think you will bridge a lot of interesting, potentially even cultural gaps. I mean, um, I am thrilled to see that. I am thrilled by your passion as much, if that makes any sense. I'm like, they're the people who gravitate towards each other share common passions and desires, and we form little communities. So yeah, I don't know. I just say, keep doing it. This is awesome.
so one last message of yours to the planet.
One last message of mine to the planet. Um, don't be afraid to share who you are, and the more honest expressions that we can facilitate, um, and that you can take upon yourself to express, um, the better everyone the better everyone benefits. Otherwise, humans are pattern recognition machines. If we don't lead with honesty and truth and humanity, what they will see is the filter of media and superficiality and nonsense, and a generation will be raised to think that that's what's real. So as much as you can, try to be honest, forthright, and have the courage to express who you are, because you never know who might get inspired by it. So there.
Great, great message. Thank you very much again, Jordan, for giving me your valuable time and giving me this opportunity to present you and your work to my audience.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for reaching out.
Thank you, sir, again. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.